The Digimon card game is my favorite TCG. Whether it's running a deck of your favorite character, playing the best deck in the room to try and win, or just simply throwing some bulk together to have fun, there is something here for everybody. I myself somewhat competitively play, and after I qualified for nationals at a store regional, I figured I'd take the rest of the year to do a little challenge. I'll be starting out with 2 copies of the Fabled Waltz structure deck, and each week give myself $25 to spend on sealed product to hopefully make my deck better. No purchasing singles, no trading cards with friends, just me and hopefully some good cards that I need. Let's see just how far this deck can take me. Welcome to Sealed Only Digimon. And welcome back to the channel. Last time we went ahead and, spoiler alerts if you haven't watched it already, we pivoted to a new deck, which isn't much of a spoiler alert since I did put it in the title of the video, but I thought it sounded cool to call it the first pivot. But we ended up going 3-1 with Chimeramon, and I'm back in EX9 trying to pick up more Chimeramons and or Machine Dramons. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I have 12 packs available today of EX9. I wasn't able to find a good deal of a box under $50 on TCG Player, unfortunately. So we are using my LGS's store price of $4.50 a pack, or 3 for $12. 3 for $12. So we technically have $48 of product here, because we have 12 packs. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're looking for Chimeramons, we're looking for Analog Youths, we're looking for Machine Dramons, and if we can pick up a Kaguyamon, like, I'm not going to complain about it, you know? Kaguyamon was the initial thing. Its extra scatter modes are nice. If we pick up a 4th core and a 4th Abatomon, we could think about playing Abatomon, but it is just we are missing specific pieces that make that deck really strong. Oh, hey, there he is. There's the 4th Abatomon. Like, we're missing Black Memory Boost, we're missing Analog Youth, we're missing just a couple of things that would really upgrade that potential of that deck to something else. So I am going to put them off to the side just because I have a little collection of all my Abatomon cards that I do want to keep in mind as possibilities. As long as I don't open another Alt Art Cernumon from this box that I had lying around, I will be quite happy. Gizamon, Koromon, Kokeshimon, Ogremon, Gazi, Beta, Protein, Skullgray, and a Meat. Very nice. Very, very nice. We are at the point, unfortunately, where there's only so much I can say about the cards that I'm opening in this set that aren't the supers or above, because I've opened everything, right? I've opened every card that I need. All the commons and belows have been opened at a playset or more, and more, right? Or uncommons and below, I should say. Rares even are getting pretty close to that level. With that Abatomon. Hey, another one. Holy moly. Oh, we got a Machine Dramon. Okay, hang on. We might be pivoting again. I mean, 2 Machine Dramons makes me want to play the deck, you know? This card's incredibly strong. The version 5 build of this deck in particular just got 2nd place at a regional tournament. So it is very likely that we pivot off of Chimera, because now that we've opened this, unless we open Alt Chimera, we're not going to get it from this box. So we'll go ahead and put him right here for now, and then I'll put these guys to the side because you don't even see them. So very, very nice that I've had. So I've in spoilers. So what I do for the bulk box that I have around, I usually buy in bulk the boxes that I think I'm going to need and keep them in my desk. So I have had a box of EX9 that I've been opening pretty much on and off for the whole series. And so this box that I have currently has been sitting in my box, or in my desk drawer, for like 2 months, and it's just had a Machine Dramon sitting there. So that is awesome. Eismon, Elecmon, Patamon, Monochromon, Angemon, Blitzgray, and Andro. Okay. Very nice. Very cool. I mean, I think that was we only had 1 copy, so being able to bump up to 2 for all of my level 5s would be incredibly good if we do end up pivoting to machines. Man, I might be building a Machine Dramon list today, folks, with the correct sleeves, because I do still have a box of those somewhere. Kokeshi, Eismon, Kunemon, Pomumon, Tuskmon, Gizamon, Toko, Nume, Garu, File Island, X-Tyranno, and oh my goodness, she's alive. She exists. We've had 3 packs back to back to back of supers and above. Kaguyamon. This card was what we were originally in this set for. This card is so powerful for our puppet strategy. Our initial goal of being able to play this would have been so good. Just being able to give all of our puppets Alliance blocker, being able to have removal in the puppets deck is incredibly powerful, and being able to play something for free is also super duper good. If we pull a second one of those, there's always the possibility that we go back to puppets. You know, it's just like the possibilities are indeed endless now. Like we just need like to finish out some play sets of stuff, and we are in such a good spot. With that being said, I think that's like 3 or 4. Let's see how many. So I have 3 packs left of the old box, so that puts us pretty likely to open up an alt art or 2, because I don't think that we've done it before. No, we opened the Andromon alt art out of this box. Raramon, Kuwaga, Rare, and Agu. We opened one of the alts, and we opened the secret. So we should get another secret, probably. Another secret or alt, I believe, is what I'm guaranteed. And more than likely it's an alt. Soundbird, Giza, Hanny, Parasaur, Nega, Devi, Gray, Meat, High Andro Ace. Very cool, very awesome, very epic. Next up. Yeah, things I'm looking for: machines, chimeras, analog U's would be really nice to have. Being able to bump up my copies of those up to 3 or 4 copies would be fantastic. And another Metal Gray. Man, we're just opening all the 5s. Unfortunately, that Metal Gray is not really necessary. Which does feel bad, because I would love to be able, because I want to open the cards that I need. Like, I think I still need another Metal Mame. I think I only have the one, and it's the alt art. Kuwaga, Skull Gray. Second alt art Matt and Ty. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Not too bad. I can definitely trade this for credit to go to my next box. So, probably won't see that in gameplay ever. I don't think that we'll ever have enough ability to flex around to the to the other boxes to be able to pick up the cards missing for that deck. But at least it's not another Cernu, you know. Tusk, Giza, Rare, Monochrome, Kabuteri, Edda, Blitzcrank Ace. We got 2 more packs left, and you know, I was always complaining about where my supers and stuff were at. I mean, there were those weeks where I opened 0 supers, and I think that they were all in the bottom quarter of this box, because I kind of opened it in the reverse order of where they were in the box, and this is a very heavy ending. Kokeshi, Ogre, Koro, Tanemon, Sunamon, Toropiamon, Devidramon, Negamon, Garuru, Kabuteri, Karakuru, and Mamemon. And what's crazy, I'm gonna double check it after after I'm done recording this a little bit. But I don't think I've opened any of the color borders here, which is kind of surprising. Toropiamon, Kokeshi, Pagu, Hani, Koro, Devi. I say something, there it is. There's a Pomo. Very cool, very awesome. I really just, I love the color borders. They make it look so, they make the cards so interesting, like extra. Kabuteri, Gray, Gazi, Taita Ace, and hey, I talked about him, and there he is, a Metal Mamemon. This bumps up 2 to all of the DM level 5s that I would want to play. So with 2 Machine Dramon, that is a tough sell, but I might be able to offset it with Skull Grays. I think that overall the Machine Dramon deck is stronger than the Chimeramon deck, but with only 2 analog U's and only 2 machines, I don't know. I'll have to. I'll get back to you guys. I'm gonna think about this for a little bit, and I may have locals in 2 hours. Who's to say? So let me take some time, take some thoughts, and figure out what deck I'm gonna play, because opening machine number 2 really has my heart feeling a specific way. I really want to try making this guy work, but only being at 2 copies makes it very awkward. So I'll be back to you guys in a bit. Hey everybody, just a quick heads up here. The footage you're about to watch, the audio is not as good as I would like it to be. My microphone isn't dying. I've had it for about a decade at this point, and I think it's starting to show its age a little bit. It's been through, I think, 6 moves. And so I'm grateful for all the work it's done, but the audio did take, it does have a lot of humming in it that I had to edit out, and so my voice sounds a little bit weird. It's seeming to cooperate right now, but I expect it to start breaking at any possible convenience. So thank you in advance for your understanding, and now let's get back to the video. I just recorded and realized that I forgot to have my phone camera on, so I opened this card because I realized I forgot to open it. This doesn't change anything for the series. Ooh. With that being said, I am playing a new deck for the series. I know we just started on Chimeramon, but I was given 2 Machine Dramons, and I have a bunch of those level 5s, so I gotta give it at least a little bit of a try. You gotta give a little bit of something, you know? With that being said, it's not going to be perfect, and you're also going to notice that I'm in a different shirt now than I was in both the last clip as well as in the clips from the gameplay, and that's because I'm recording this deck profile a couple days after my locals, just because preparing for Nats has gotten my schedule kind of all over the place, so we'll go ahead and get into it. First of all, we got 4 copies of Pagumon here. He allows me to evolve into a Ver 5 when attacking 1 time by trashing a face-down source. Card is incredibly powerful. I have a bunch of version 5 cards in here that I would love to be able to devolve into just by getting rid of a face-down source. It's only a cost reduction of 1, but that 1 can come up a lot. And next up, we have 3 copies of Gazimon here. Guy's a Ver 2 Searcher. He fills up for our Raremon that we have later, and just puts any Ver 2 card underneath him to help fill that up, and grabs me any 1 DM card that I need, since everything in the deck is DM. He just searches any 1 card that I reveal off the top 3 of my deck. Very, very powerful if I don't have anything else that I would like to do. Just having the Searcher as a backup plan is very solid. Very nice to have. We're on 3 to 4. Oh, we're on 4 copies of this guy. For some reason, I thought I only had 3 of them in here. We're on 4 copies of Gizamon. I really, if Chimeramon taught me anything, I really like having training rookies lined up and ready to go. Being able to turn 1, just use a training rookie to start up your plays next turn is incredibly powerful. And Gizamon is particularly good because he is a version 5, as you can tell by the borders on these back guys. But he also just has a trashing a source, which works really well with the version 2 Metal Mame. So we are on 4 copies of that guy, and we're on 3 copies of the Biomon. It's kind of, oh, we're on 4 of this one too. Man, I just don't know my numbers, apparently. 4 copies of this Biomon. This card is, like, IMO the best training rookie, just because having Raid on level 4s is incredibly powerful. If we get a File Island set up early, it makes our level 4s likely to get over my opponent's 4s, or sometimes even their level 5s. So having Raid as an inherited is really good, so I like to have it in there. Next up, we have our 4s. I'm on 4 copies of Raremon. This card is quite good. Being able to warp up into any version 5, level 5 Digimon at the end of your turn is incredibly powerful. You do pay cost, but the one that you're usually going into off of this doesn't actually end up costing you anything because of how the effects work out. So we're on 4 copies of this guy. He just is a 3 cost level 5 with 3 face-down sources is what he ends up being a lot of the time, which is really, really strong. And I accidentally revealed what we're on. Tiki. Next up, we're on 4 copies of Digimon. This is my favorite DM card out of all of them. This card is just so good. He allows you to take any card from your hand you know you don't need right now. You know, it can be any card. It's not just a Digimon card that can go underneath it. So any extra tamers or options that you may be having, this guy can get rid of. So very, very happy to have one of him. And then we're on 1 copy of Tuskmon. He does just kind of out Floodgates. And that's really nice to have. He is another source of Raid, which is really solid. I will tell you guys now, this card did not come up a single time. He's also Ver 5, which is mostly why he's in here. But yeah, those are our level 4s. We're on 9 copies of those and 11 level 3s, which is, you know, pretty close to what normal numbers are for deck building, and we're about to break that. So we're on, for our 5s, we're on 4 copies of X Tyrannomon. This card is the star of the show. I know it's a Machine Dramon deck. This card is absolutely insane. Being able to always be able to suspend something guaranteed, and by trashing a single face-down source, returning it to hand, is such an amazing tempo swing. A lot of stuff right now wanting to be deleted, or having effects if they are deleted, being able to just counteract all of that with a simple bounce is really, really powerful. Also having the inherited effect. Being a version 5 allows Raremon to warp into it, and it ends up being free because it digivolves for 3 on top of Raremon, and it reduces its cost for Digivolution by 1 for every face-down source it has. If you're using Raremon's end of turn effect, that makes it a free evolution. being able to also put this underneath, even though it's a puppet, you're able to put it underneath Machine Dramon with its on-play effect because of, or on-play when digivolving when attacking effect because of the fact that it is a version 5. So you're always able to get its own effect as well to be able to add, to return something to hand, and you're also able to get the, if I delete something by battle, trash top security card. So 4 copies of this guy. He's, like I said, he's kind of the star of the show. Really, really good card. Next up, we're on 2 copies of this Digimon. He is a new version 5. He has some really solid effects. Since he is version 5, your opponent, you can put him underneath of a Machine Dramon with his effects, which is pretty solid. He does have an when digivolving effect that you can't be de-digivolved, which if you're getting into Machine Dramon is extremely good. And you get additional DP based on how many face-down sources you have, and that compounds with File Island. So if you're able to get like 2 or 3 sources, you're suddenly looking at 4,000 or 6,000 DP. Plus, it has a taunt. Your opponent is forced to attack with 1 Digimon at the end of your turn, and if this guy's at the top of your Machine Dramon stack, the likelihood of your opponent chewing through as much stuff as they need to avoid this is really strong. Would be a lot more powerful if we had access to BT11 Analog Man that we could hold up to guarantee that our opponent is redirected, but there's only so much we can do about that. Next up, we're on 2 Metal Greymons. These guys are here for the traits and the names. These are level 5 cyborgs that we're about to look at. Metal Greymon has Sec +1 and also deletes up to X amount of DP worth of all of your opponent's Digimon, increasing based on how much DP they have. Next, we're on the 2 Metal Mame as another cyborg. This card is pretty solid as well. Same kind of philosophy. He end of turn unsuspends something, which works really well if we also have Andromon in our sources. Being able to give blocker, being able to attack, and then also have blocker, coupled with Analog Youth to be able to reboot, ends up, you know, there tends to be a little bit of stuff here that ends up kind of working together in like small little synergies. We're on 3 copies of Mega Dramon because I think this card is still the strongest of this entire cycle. It sucks that he's not version 5, that he's only version 4, because I would love to be able to go into him off of like a Devi Dramon attack to be able to kind of get some really early aggression on that, but he will do fine. And they're on 1 copy of Metal Tyrannomon, which I would love to be on more copies of this card, but I only have the 1. So we're on 1 copy here. And he never came up, but being able to de-digivolve based on the number of face-down sources is incredibly powerful. So we'll hold on to him. Next up, we're on 3 copies of Raiden Monace. Since I'm only on 2 Machine Dramons and I'm missing a couple of other cards here and there, I figured that a couple copies of Raiden Monace is really good. This card's really powerful. A lot of the time you're just ending on 5s if you don't have a Machine Dramon out, or if you do have a Machine Dramon out, usually you're able to put a Raremon into another X-Tyrannomon, and so you're just able to threaten this guy. He allows you to, if you block with anything, any of your version 5 stuff, gives de-digivolves 1 on anything. So being able to de-digivolve is really powerful. He has collision as well, so it's just an all turns effect whenever any version 5 suspends. You get a de-digivolve 1, and so if he attacks, it de-digivolves something, and it's forced to block because this guy has collision. So incredibly powerful, very, very powerful card. If he is on top of an X-Tyrannomon, like I mentioned previously, that is a trash of a top source of security. So very, very good. It came up a lot more than I expected. And then we're on our 2 copies of Machine Dramon that we are legally allowed to play. This card is just so good. On play when digivolving, when attacking, being able to attack a level 5 cyborg or Ver 5 card as the top source is really good. Just being able to cycle between all those toolboxy effects that I talked about earlier, activate their own plays, and then, you know, get extra, because 90% of them add extra face down sources underneath you. Being able to kind of guarantee that he sticks around with his protection effect is also really powerful. So 2 copies of Machine Dramon. Would love to open more EX9 in the future to try and get a 3rd copy. Obviously getting 4 would be more than ideal, but we'll see where we end up with that. Next up, we're on 2 copies of Analog Youth. This card, it is crazy just how strong this Analog Youth is for DM decks, and the reason that we don't know more about it is because we don't have a ton of DM decks really in the format. As we get more, if we get more support, which we are getting in the promo pack, I would assume this card is going to become even more powerful. Being able to start a main tuck a face down source already is really good. Guaranteeing you get a memory, drawing an additional card if your hand size is low, which it tends to be in DM cards decks, and also giving everything that you have reboot if it has a face down source. That one in particular is incredibly powerful. Guaranteeing that you have reboot so your Digimon can't be walked over is really powerful, but you also have a lot of blockers that you want to be able to attack with. So being able to give the offensive is really good there. We're on 3 copies of Analog Man. I will also let you guys know I'm basing this heavily off of the list that got second place at a recent regional. There were on 2 copies of BT11 Analog Man, which I obviously don't have access to, and will not be opening BT11 because there's not I think the last time I checked, the box was like 130, 150, somewhere in that range. And it's not even like a very likely hit because of the foiling taking up rare slot cards. So the likelihood of pulling an Analog Man is even lower. So with that being said, I think this card is still incredibly powerful, being able to, when I play any 7-cost or higher version or DM trait card in our case here, I can gain a memory and draw a card and then possibly put a face down source underneath it. It combos really well with our level 5s that that want to have more cards in their sources to be able to do things. And yeah, just being able to add more sources is always good. And, you know, can't go wrong with the setter. Last up, we have our options. We're on 2 copies of File Island. I love this card. I like being on 2 because with an Analog Youth, that does allow us to do the File Island shuffle if we do get ourselves down to 1 memory, don't have a better way to pass turn. Being able to set our opponent to 1 memory with the File Island shuffle is very, very solid. There could be an argument that there's something better to do, but there really isn't a lot in this deck that is only 2 cost. Like, the only other thing is Meat, which is the other card that we're on. 2 copies of Meat, draw a card, you know, being able to reduce our Digivolution cost is also really powerful. But yeah, that's the deck. I already know how the games went, and they all look really good. I will let you guys know in advance, and I'll mention it again in the future. My opponent for round 3 did not feel comfortable being on camera, and so we ended up playing a game off stream. I will do my best to kind of give a brief highlight of what happened, but without the footage, it is a little bit more difficult to go over. So let's go ahead and jump into the games, shall we? Alrighty then, and here we are for round 1. Our first round is up against our local Digimon player, and I'm on, Machine Dramon. I start off with BO into training, which is very familiar to our episode last time within Chimeramon. But this time I go into a Digimon a lot more consistently than I did the first time. My opponent evolves into a mono-purple Gamamon in the back, plays a Gamamon, picking up a Strongest of Brothers off of their search. I go ahead and promote, thinking about what I want to do here. I go ahead and activate Digimon's effect to tuck a card underneath. To draw a card, and then I activate Pagumon's effect to trash the recently added card to be able to Digivolve into a version 5 card in my trash, which is my bottommost card. So I do go into the Datamon. My opponent goes ahead and activates Strongest of Brothers and passes the turn back to me. I go ahead and attack with my Datamon, and then I Digivolve into, again, Biomon into Devigramon in the back. My opponent promotes, they can Digivolve into Beetle Gamamon for a cost of 2. Go ahead and play down a hero off of the free play. And they're kind of looking at their hand now, figuring out what they want to do. They go into Regulus Ace. Regulus Ace's effect discards a Regulusmon and attempts to delete something they can't, but they go ahead and Strongest of Brothers to Digivolve for free. Arcturusmon goes and adds something, and they choke me to 1 with a big old Arcturus stack. But we do the exact same play we did last time. We go Devigramon, attack to draw a card, trash the card to Digivolve into X-Tyrannomon, even though it costs 4 on top of a DM, since both of them are for 5s, it reduces it by 1 for every face-down source, which is 1, plus Pagumon reduces it by 1. We go ahead and trash a card to return that Arcturus to hand. My opponent, we hit a card of security, unfortunately hitting a Strongest of Brother, which plays out the Gamamon, which gets them another search. I go ahead and play Metal Mamemon. I trash a Mega Dramon in my hand to reduce the play cost by 2 rather, and I play it for 3 to return that Gamamon back to the deck. I've played against this deck enough to know that I want to give them no bodies to attack with as many times as I can. My opponent goes ahead and plays a Weezing Gamamon. On play allows them to tuck a card underneath. They gain a memory and draw a card off their hero, as well as activate Digivolving for free off the Strongest of Brothers into a Regulusmon. Regulusmon adds another card, and then they end their turn with another Strongest of Brothers. They go ahead and pass me to 2. I go ahead and start Digivolve into a Biomon and training. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Digivolve into a Biomon in training. I'm looking at my options, trying to figure out what my best play here is, remembering what I have access to, all that fun stuff. I attack with Metal Mamemon. My opponent does have blocker off of the Weezing Gamamon effect, and I'm kind of just like trying to figure out what I want to do here. But Metal Mamemon dies, unfortunately. I go ahead and attack with X-Tyrannomon. X-Tyrannomon also dies here. Not the end of the world. I wasn't really expecting it to do much, but I go ahead and play Analog Man for 4. Not really sure why I did it that way. Probably would have been better just to hold it up, but I have enough Raidamon aces here that I'm probably going to end up fighting one. My opponent attacks with Regulus. They are debating what they want to do here, and then they go ahead and I let them pass through to security. They hit a Raremon in my security, and then they evolve into a Seriesmon. Seriesmon's effect tucks something underneath, and then they pop my Digimon that has lower DP, they trash my top security, and they unsuspend. They hit my File Island with the trash, which is a big bummer. They attack into a Raidamon Ace that is in my security, Again, not the best thing because their Series Mon is over 12,000, but not the end of the world. They also have their 4th copy of Strongest of Brothers for this game. They go ahead and play it, drawing 2 cards. I promote my Biomon, and I start thinking about math here, and hey, I think I can figure this out. Digimon raid into Gamamon here, Digivolving into that X-Tyrannomon that we had previously, and then trashing the exact same play we did last turn, but it does out the Seriousmon here. That gives them 1 memory exactly, because my setter gives me just barely not enough memory to be able to do that fully. My opponent also does pretty much the same thing they did last time. They play Weezin puts something underneath. They Digivolve into Canon Weiss puts something underneath. They go into Sirius. Sirius puts something underneath. They pop it, and then they pop my X-Tyrannomon. Fortitude plays it back out. They trash my top security, but with 3 memory, I mean, this is just a go into Machinedramon angle here. I go ahead and add Andromon here to go ahead and tuck a source underneath it. I'm giving my opponent minus 5,000. Minus 5,000. We will end up trading here based on the DP gain that they had, and I will go ahead and purge away the cards. And I also trash 1 off of the X-Tyranno before that happens. I go ahead and go Biomon in the back. All 4 of my rookies went into Biomons this game, and then I play an Analog Youth just to make sure that I can give myself face down sources next turn. My opponent plays a Gamamon for turn, and then goes ahead and goes into a Ghoulless Gamamon. I'm about to say Beetle again, but that was right. Analog Youth at start of main will go ahead and add a card to my hand. I will go ahead, and when it's hacking, I will kind of misplay here a little bit. I didn't promote, which was my first misplay, but I really don't want to give him an on deletion effect here for whatever reason. I should have just done that. I go ahead and attack with Machinedramon. Machinedramon's effect places Metal Mame underneath, which goes ahead and puts Beetle on, or Ghoulless on bottom. I have to charge my bottom 2 face down sources. Unfortunately, can't do much. I play a Gazimon for 3, getting a search on, and grabbing a Raremon. Raremon end of turn Digivolves for free into X-Tyranno. So I now have a blocker in Machinedramon, and I am representing an ace play. My opponent saw me pick up the Ride and Ace, and they know I have it. So I'm picking up an ace play for this X-Tyrannomon, and the Gazi's just there. My opponent promotes the hero Gamamon, and they actually warp into RB1 Sirius. They attack. They attempt to pop my Machinedramon. They do not do so, and since they did not, they don't trash my security. My opponent goes ahead and hard drops a Regulusmon for 7. I don't think this card does much. I still don't know what it does, because I go ahead and start of main on the Machinedramon, attack with the Canon Weiss, and swing for game. My opponent, Regulus ends up playing a Canon Weiss, but I do the same thing here with Machinedramon. That's all that matters. We take game 1. And game 2, my opponent starts us off with a Gamamon, the Searcher Gamamon, into a Ghoulless Gamamon in the back. We go ahead and meet for 1, trying to find something that isn't this Gazimon to Digivolve into in the back. Not finding it, unfortunately. It probably would have been better to Digivolve Gazi into Davidra first, just because this means I don't have a card underneath it this turn, which is not ideal, but I do the same play I did last time, but this time I'm able to keep turn by going into Devidramon, all that fun stuff. Devidramon into Datamon, all that fun stuff. We go ahead and play a File Island, since we don't have any face-up security cards. My opponent hits an analog ban for me in security, which is fantastic. They sacrifice their Ghoulless Gamamon to play out a hero, and also be able to play out a Gamamon off of their security sources. They also play out another hero. They Digivolve into a Beetle to play out another hero, and hard drop a 3rd hero. I start my turn at 3 going into a Bio and training. I go ahead and play Megidramon, discarding the Metal Tyrannomon in my hand. I activate the Analog Man effect first to gain a memory and draw a card. I then take the Gazi from my trash to hit the 5 that I need, or the 6 cost that I need to be able to delete that. My opponent this would choke my opponent to 1 memory, but unfortunately they gain 2 off of their heroes at the start of their main phase. My opponent Digivolves in the back, plays a Strongest of Brother to get some search on, and then they play another Gamamon for search here, kind of just trying to set up for next turn. I realize now is my best time to push for aggression. I go ahead and activate Meat, putting a card underneath it to Digivolve my Biomon into a Devidramon, and then I go ahead and Digivolve the Megadramon into Machinedramon. Machinedramon will go ahead and pick up Datamon. I'll give him plus 2k, and he's immune to Digivolve effects, but that's not the important part. Devidramon here is going to I thought about Digivolving into something, but I end up choosing not to, but because I raid into it and I know I'm big enough based on File Island. Machinedramon here goes ahead and attacks. I unsuspend myself by deleting my Devidramon stack, because I just know I want everything in trash, because I know I have an X-Tyrannomon kind of in rotation to threaten another ace play, and because It's really nice to be able to have X Tyrannomon threaten an ace play, because if they do attempt to remove it before they end up attacking, I do still get to ace because the X Tyrannomon has Fortitude. So it just really helps me insulate to make sure that I'm sticking around. My opponent started mains, tucks one card underneath it off of their RB1 hero, and then gains promptly 3 memory and draws 3 cards off of it. They Digivolve for 2 into Weezin. Weezin tucks something underneath it. They Digivolve for 3 into Canawise. Canawise tucks something underneath it. They Strongest of Brothers into an Arcturusmon. Arcturusmon tucks something underneath itself. They attempt to pop the X Tyranno on deletion. Will de-Digivolve 1 on their Arcturus. I will go ahead and play back out the X Tyrannomon on play, will suspend it. Since it doesn't have any sources, I can't return it to hand, unfortunately. That'd be a little bit too powerful, but that's fine. My opponent goes ahead and ends their turn with another Strongest of Brothers. I go Gazi in the back. First time that we've seen Gazi in the back. And then I go ahead and attack with the Machine Dramon. I go ahead and attempt to pop it, but I'm not able to do so. I attack into security thinking that I'm going to be able to do something. I'm debating here if I want to go ahead and unsuspend, I think. And I choose not to. I go ahead and Digivolve for 2 into Dramon, and then I play Meat for 2. Like, I'm trying to low pass my opponent as much as I can, but Gamamon does just kind of do whatever it wants. Meat here, setting myself up next turn with the Dramon in the back, hopefully able to do something. I accidentally paused, so this is the last little bit here might be unsynced. But my opponent goes ahead and attacks with Siriusmon, hitting 2 security because they have Sec +1. They hit nothing that's really important. But they do have, a bajillion memory. They play Regulus Ace here for 5. Regulus Ace's effect tucks something underneath it, and then they use the Strongest of Brothers to Digivolve into another Sirius to attempt to pop me, not realizing that it's a non-once per turn pop. And then they activate Red Scramble to Digivolve into their Proximamon. Proximamon here will eventually out the Machine Dramon, but I think that they trash my final security, but the damage is kind of done here. I've kind of done everything that I needed to set up to kind of win this turn. I go ahead and draw for turn. I promote my Dramon, activate my Meat effect here, I believe. At some point, I'm looking at the cards in my hand, trying to figure out exactly what the best sequencing here is, but it is pop Meat, tuck a card underneath it to Digivolve for a cost reduction of 2. We go for 1 into Megadramon. Megadramon's effect will add a face down card underneath it. We'll go ahead and pop the Gamamon. Proximamon will see that deletion, and he'll just play it right back out, get some more searching on, grabs himself a Beetle. We go ahead and attack. We trash the card that we added, and we Digivolve into a Machine Dramon for a cost of 2, which allows us to keep turn. We add X Tyrannomon underneath it. X Tyrannomon will suspend it. Suspend the Siriusmon, and I will trash a card to do so. I think I ended up I accidentally didn't trash the card there, looking back on the gameplay there. I would have trashed the card, and then to protect myself in the security, I would not have trashed my bottom 2 sources that I had there. I would have trashed one of my level 5 cyborgs, which would have included the Megadramon that I was planning on using anyway. So we ended up taking that game. The last little bit there I kind of messed up just a smidge, but we still had the game. Let's go ahead and go see what's happening in round 2. We're up 1-0. Let's keep that up. And round 2, we're up against Crossheart. For those of you who don't know, Crossheart is the deck that I am most comfortable with. In fact, it's the deck I'm taking to Nationals tomorrow, as you guys are going to be watching this. So wish me some luck in the comments. Very excited to play some Crossheart. I go ahead and go BO into Dramon in the back. My opponent Digivolves into the BT21 Shoutmon and plays a Searcher Taiki, revealing the top 4, hitting Z-Greymon, that bastard, always in security. They're debating between a Blitz Taiki and a Can't Turn Back to add to hand. They add the Blitz Taiki, putting a Can't Turn Back to the bottom and adding an Omni Shoutmon, the BT19 Omni Shoutmon underneath as bottom source. I promote my Dramon. One of the worst things that you can kind of do against Crossheart is just give them free tamers, but my deck really likes attacking. I do the Dramon into Datamon play again, just thinking like maybe 7k is enough to get through something, and I hit Superior Mode. This does pass my opponent to only 1 memory, so it's not like I had a better, more efficient play to do. I didn't have anything in my hand I could have played. I want to give my opponent as little memory as possible. My opponent promotes the Shoutmon and then promptly plays their Taiki Kudo setter, or Blitz Tamer. I go ahead and Digivolve into Gazi in the back, play Digivolve into a Raremon, and then play Meat for 2, set my opponent to as little memory as I can. My opponent puts a Shooting Starmon underneath the Blitz Taiki to draw a card and gain a memory, going up to 2, and then they Digivolve into another BT19 Shoutmon in the back. They play the BT19 Shoutmon to be able to warp into the Omni Shoutmon they had underneath, and then they go ahead and blitz with it, hitting an Analog Man for me, which is fantastic. I have Raremon here, kind of looking at what my best play here is. I go ahead and activate Meat to go into X Tyrannomon for free. Since I have a face down source plus the Meat reduction, it ends up being free with Raremon. I go ahead and bottom deck a card here. I trash my source. I suspend the other Digimon, and then I trash the source to be able to bounce the Shoutmon to hand. Hindsight probably would have been better to go with the Omni Shoutmon, but I kind of wanted them to think that they had to use other cards that weren't the Shoutmon to gain memory and draw cards off of. I end my turn by playing a Raremon for 3 since there's not much else better for me to do. My opponent starts their turn, they put an Atler Ballistamon underneath their Blitz Taiki, and then they promote. I let them take it back. It's fine. They're going to go ahead and just promote it, and that's totally fine with me. I did remind them that it is something that's supposed to happen at start of main phase, so in an official tournament, that's something that they would have missed. My opponent is starting at 3. They're kind of thinking through their plays, trying to figure out what they were wanting to do here, and then they go ahead and cross a Merva. I let them know that they can use a card from their trash, and they're like, oh, I'm stacking up multiple cards. And I was like, unfortunately, you only get 1 card on Merva. It's 1 card with the cross art trait. And so my opponent kind of looks at the Merva here, thinking about if they want to play it, and they still think it's their best play for 8 cost. And then they go ahead and play out the Shoutmon that went to the trash off the Omni Shoutmon, and then they end up attacking into. They pop my Raremon with their Omni Shoutmon, and then they blitz in with their Omni Shoutmon as well. They're holding up 2 blockers. One is the Merva, one is the Shoutmon. I go ahead and start of main with the analog youth that they hit. Go ahead and tuck a card underneath it. I attack with X Tyrannomon here. And make them get rid of their Shoutmon, which they do save. I go Gazi into Digimon in the back. I have a ton of memory here. It's just a matter of figuring out what the best method is to get rid of everything that I want to be getting rid of. I go ahead and play Gazi for 3. Digivolve into a Raremon for 2. To warp up into a X Tyrannomon to go ahead and trash a source to get rid of it. I could have just played the Raremon, but I was at 4 memory, so going to 5 cost instead, putting my opponent to 1 memory is kind of the best thing I can do. I know I did put that Mervamon back in hand, but I know that my opponent's going to be kind of hesitant to go back into it. So I'm hoping that this buys me enough time and I don't have to see it again. As we add more cards to this trash, of course, it is going to get scarier and scarier, but I think I'm okay right now. My opponent goes ahead and digivolves into a BT19 Shoutmon in the back. They're kind of sitting on their Omni Shout, trying to figure out what their best plan here is going to be. Cycling through their hands, it looks like they added in the BT21 Omni Shoutmon underneath. They digivolve into a Shooting Star in the back for 2, and then they play a Taiki Kudo, revealing 2 Raptor Sparrows, another card, a regular Sparrow, and a 3 Generals. They picked up the Generals, put a Raptor Sparrow underneath the Taiki, and passed. I go ahead and promote my Digimon. Digimon, when attacking, is going to strip the source underneath the Omni Shoutmon, and then 1 check at 7k, because I have File Island. I'm going to attack in with both of my other X Tyrannomons. I'm just giving my opponent a bunch of Tamers. I go ahead and play Metal Mamemon for 4 to return their Omni Shoutmon to hand. I'm debating on if I want to activate Analog Man here, because I don't really want to gain the memory. I wouldn't hate the card draw, and I wouldn't hate putting another source underneath it, but I don't need to, so I end up not doing it to give my opponent as little memory, again, as I can. They end up putting a bunch of cards underneath it, including their Sparrowmon that they picked up, as well as a Shooting Star and a Shoutmon DX. They go ahead and reveal the E-Cross 6, suspending the Taiki, to go ahead and put Raptor Sparrow, Atler Ballista, Shoutmon DX, and Omni Shoutmon underneath, costing 3 cost, making it cost 3 memory, I should say. They play out Shooting Star. Here, they actually should give -3 to 2 different things. We both kind of forgot that there was another Shooting Star on the other side there that would have seen it whenever either of these Digimon were played. So they give a -5 to my board. They give -3 to the Digimon that I had. They attempt to, when attacking, pop the X Tyrannomon here. I go ahead and de-digivolve 1, the E-Cross 6, based on my inherited effect. On play, I suspend the Shooting Star because now we remembered that it exists. I digivolve my Digimon here. I digivolve on top of Metal Mamemon because I know that their stack has collision. I go ahead and resolve all of my on-deletion effects first, which includes another D-Digivolve, which puts them down to just Atler Ballistamon, so they get to save 1 card. And then I go ahead and play back out the X Tyrannomon. I put the Raidenmon Ace on top of the Metal Mame because I wanted it to also be a version 5 card, and I didn't want to lose either of the other ones that I had. Plus, I know the least amount of stuff that I'm interested in is the Raidenmon Ace. My opponent, with 1 memory, passes me over to 7 by playing out the Mervamon. Mervamon will play out a Raptor Sparrow to get a search on, and then they'll go into the Shoutmon. They'll go ahead and blitz with their Mervamon, and unfortunately hit a Raidenmon Ace in my security, which is just enough to be able to be defeated. At this point, I go ahead and attack in with Raidenmon Ace. I do Digivolve, and I do unfortunately have collision here, so they do get a search. They reveal top 3. They end up hitting another Tamer. I think I've played more Tamers for them than they've been able to play for themselves, unfortunately. I do go ahead and attack in with X Tyrannomon number 1 and X Tyrannomon number 2, and then I take the first game. Here in game 2, my opponent opts to go first again. They go ahead and hatch, and then they Digivolve into nothing because they're going to play a Shooting Star Mon for 5. They kind of have a little bit of a brick to start off with, unfortunately. But I do not. I go Gazi into Training, into Digimon, into Gazi, or Giza in the back, Gazi up front, pick up a Analog Youth off of a Gazi Search, and play the Analog Youth, putting my opponents at 3. They use that 3 memory to Digivolve into an Atler Ballistamon, so now they're up to 10k and can't be spun or bounced. Return to hand or deck, I should say. They attack for 10k, they only hit a Gazi, or a Giza in my security, and then they play a Trio Tamer, which is probably just what they needed to be able to do something. They probably didn't have it in hand last turn. I would not be surprised if they drew it either for turn or on top of the Atler. I promote my Digimon. I start of main, put a card underneath it off of Analog Youth. I go ahead and file Island here, trying to look for something, and then I Digivolve for 3 into Megadramon here. Since my opponent is at 7 cost, they do get deleted. They get to choose one of the 2 cards they want back, and it's Shooting Star. I attack for 10k with Megadramon and survive. I attack with Gazimon for 1k and die. I go ahead and play a Meat to pass my opponent to 2. They start a main, go ahead and put a Shoutmon DX underneath to gain a memory and draw a card going up to 3 and Digivolve into a Shoutmon BT19 in the back. And then they Digivolve into 1 in the front. They think that they can Digivolve into DX and they unfortunately can't. I go ahead and add another card underneath Megadramon here off of Analog Use to gain a memory and draw a card, just kind of trying to find something. And unfortunately, I don't have enough DP to survive. I crash exactly with the card that's in there. So I got to Digivolve into Gizamon in the back, and then into Raremon, and then I drop an Analog Youth. My opponent goes to 5 memory they promote their Shemon DX. They have a Jaeger Ulumon underneath their 3 generals. They go ahead and play a Tekikudo Searcher. They pick up a Tamer, put an Atler Ballista underneath their Taiki, put the rest on bottom. They're kind of looking at what they want to do here. They Digivolve into Raptor Sparrowmon on top of their Shoutmon for 2, revealing the top 3, revealing a BT19 thing, and then they actually end up putting it on the bottom. I did not catch this in the game or when we were editing this video at first. They should have been trashed. The other Tamer and the other Shoutmon should have been trashed. My opponent attempts to put a card underneath their Digimon off of their egg effect, not realizing it puts it underneath your Tamer, which they mentioned later is why they haven't been attacking. Their Raptor Sparrowmon ends up hitting an Analog Youth in my security, so I go ahead and play it. So I have 2 of those in rotation. They put a Raptor Sparrowmon. They play their other Taiki, grab a Raptor Sparrowmon underneath, grab another card to hand, and end the turn. I go ahead and put 1 card underneath off of the first Analog Youth. I'm able to gain 2 memory and draw 2 cards. I'm debating if I want to put a second one, and I do. So I have a Raremon here with a bunch of cards. I go ahead and put a card underneath it off of Meat to Digivolve into an Andromon for 1. Andromon will put a Digimon card underneath it, give my opponent minus a quintillion, just so he's a really big guy here. And then I kind of look at my trash because I have a Machine Dramon in hand. I'm trying to figure out what I want to go into. I end up going into the Mega Dramon underneath it, putting a Gizamon underneath as the bottom source. I'm at 1. I attack. I do the same thing with Megadramon. By deleting my own stack, I will unsuspend, trashing my bottom 2 sources to survive, and then I do it again. I attack again. So since I have Reboot and I know I have Blocker at my sources, I'm not super worried here. I go ahead and do the File Island Shuffle, like I said. I go ahead and pass my opponent to 1 just by playing a second File Island. The name of the game against Crossheart is give my opponent as little memory as I possibly can. My opponent goes ahead and puts an Omnishout underneath again at start of main to gain a memory and to draw a card. They reveal E-Cross 6. They actually have all 5 names that they need here to make it 1 cost. They're about to put Shoutmon DX underneath. And I remind them they probably should do Omni Shout because otherwise they're going to be not able to attack. And so they go ahead and play that, give my board -6. They play out Shooting Star, giving me another -3 and Sec -1. They go ahead and attack. I'm debating on if I want to keep my body around here, and I believe that the answer is yes. So I will do that. I suspend here because I'm also forced to collision. Oh, I guess we missed that. So I shouldn't actually have the blocker source here or the Megadramon source. I don't believe it will come up too much, but I should have, my opponent should have attempted to pop me during the one attacking. We're kind of talking about here, kind of everything that's going on, talking about the game state, not missing that one part. Don't think, based on what I know about the rest of the game, I don't believe that it comes up. The -3 isn't affected until the end of my next turn because it does have a Shooting Star. My opponent Digivolves into a BT19 in the back and then plays another Blitz Taiki. I go ahead and start of main, put a card underneath off the analog use, doing them one at a time because I have exactly 7 cards in hand, so I need to make sure that I'm doing them sequentially to make sure I have enough memory. I do have the sec -1, so I'm unable to win on this turn, unfortunately. I'm kind of looking at my hand, figuring out the best play here. I attack with the Machine Dramon. Machine Dramon's effect allows me to go ahead and place Metal Mamemon underneath it. I go ahead and put Biomon underneath it. Since I can't win here, I'm going to force my opponent to attempt to block with me. I remove the plus 2k, the rush, and the piercing, just giving him collision and blocker. I'm forcing her to block, just trying to see if she'll take the bait, and she does. So I go ahead and am able to survive by trashing my bottom 2 sources. This should actually end up taking away my Andromon source here. I digivolve into a Gazi, into a Devidramon, and then I go ahead and play a Raremon and a second Raremon because I have just enough sources in my trash to tuck 3 underneath the Raremon to go into X-Tyrannomon in trash, and then I have another 3 for the other Raremon to go into an X-Tyrannomon in my hand. So this way I have... it does matter here on the Machine Dramon that I do have blocker, but it ends up not changing anything. My opponent promotes. They get so caught up in the moment because they're about to announce Cross 7 Superior Mode that they forget to do their start of mains on their Trio Tamer and on their Blitz Taiki. So they don't actually have enough memory to be able to keep turn after this, which I think were really banking on. My opponent, I'm kind of explaining how it works. I'm explaining that you need 1 of every unique card number. They attempt to put 2 cards in there because they think it's as many as possible. I'm like, no, it's only 1 card number. And then we go ahead and count up. They have 9, and if they had done to 2, it would have been just enough. I don't think they also realize that they can't do cards from hand either. And then they go ahead and trash the top 10 stacked cards of my Machine Dramon stack, which is all of it. My opponent is debating on if they want to attack here because they are at 0 security. They're trying to figure out what their best way to survive is, and I don't think that they actually have one here because if they do attack, I know for a fact that I have Raidenmon Ace in hand, so I just counter timing, block, and de-digivolve to out the stack. So my opponent doesn't attack. I go ahead and promote. I started main on Analog Youth, putting a card underneath, gain 2 memory, draw 2 cards. Analog Youth here. I get to do something kind of cheeky with the X-Tyrannomon with the Fortitude. Since I did play it this turn, I get to put another card underneath it off of Analog Man before it actually sees its on-play effect. So I'm able to tuck a card underneath it and then trash that card whenever I'm played to force that now Shoutmon, after it's been de-digivolved from the on-deletion effect, to turn into a... to go back to the hand. So we end up taking it 2-0. So we are up 2-0 going into what is our final round for this week. And like I mentioned earlier, my opponent didn't feel comfortable being on camera, so we ended up not recording this game. My opponent was on Imperial in our last round, and then I was on, as you know, Machine Dramon. That doesn't change. Game 1 was pretty back and forth. My opponent kind of had me on the ropes. They saw a BT16 Pyeel on turn 2, and I kind of thought it was just curtains. I kind of thought I was just dead, but they ended up going into a structure deck dragon mode to spit out the two gain a memory bodies without keeping turn. So what I was able to do is I was able to go ahead and promote my Devidramon and Digivolve into a Megadramon using a meat that I had to be able to pop both of them and kind of just leave them sitting on that dragon mode that they had, being able to out it a little bit later. After a little bit of a war of attrition, I kept what was funny is that they went ahead and DNA'd into a BT16 Pyeel a couple of turns later, and had attacked in, not realizing that my on-deletion effect would de-digivolve them. And so they got de-digivolved, and then they went ahead and hard slammed for 3 the one of Structure Deck Stingmon to DNA for a 3rd time into the BT16 Pyeel. But with all that being said, we ended up taking the game 1 after, like I said, I kind of got through a war of attrition. Having gotten through 3 BT16 Pyeel, I felt incredibly good. I just kind of kept being able to respond to the exact stuff, and Source Strip plus D-Digivolve is really good against Imperial. Trust me. I have like a 3/4 rarity Imperial deck, or a max rarity deck 3/4 finished of Imperial in my closet. Game 2, there's not much to say here. My opponent bricked out of their mind. Turn 1, they played an XVmon from hand. Turn 2, after I went into kind of everything that I needed with a Gazimon up front into a Devidramon plus a Gazimon or a Biomon into a Devidramon in the back, I had everything that I needed to kind of just end up steamrolling the game. My opponent didn't even see a rookie until I hit the Setter Davis in their security as their 3rd security card, and it revealed Wormmon, which was really unfortunate. That was their first rookie that they saw. And so I ended up just kind of being able to just kept attacking with my smaller guys, and even if they died, that was fine because I'd be able to go to a Machinedramon later. So I ended up taking 2 games, and with that being said, that's the end of the tournament, and I'm 3-0. I actually ended up taking it this week. I'm really surprised. I have a feeling that I kind of won off of the back of X Tyrannomon, as we saw in the games. Being able to constantly loop through those resources and just being able to keep bouncing stuff back to hand in this game is really, really good. Being able to recycle it later with Machinedramon as well never really came up, but is something that I am able to do. For the future, I think the best things that I can ask for in this deck are pretty simple. More copies of Analog Youth and more copies of Machinedramon. With that being said, though, boxes are a little bit low, so I'm going to have to go down on the number of packs that I open. We're going to go back to LGS pricing like I did this week. So 12 packs every 2 weeks, just to see if we can pull, a little bit more. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Next week, I will be back from Nats. And EX10 will be out. If you want to see me open EX10 for the series, please let me know in the comments. There's nothing in there that I think will help our current deck, but I do think there are some generally good cards in there. I wouldn't be opposed to kind of dipping into that instead. So if you want to see that, as opposed to more EX9 to kind of finish up this Machinedramon deck, please leave a comment. If you like the video, like the video. Please consider subscribing. I'm doing these videos every other week right now, trying to make sure that they are just as fun for me to make as they are for you to watch. And yeah, I will be opening whatever packs you guys recommend in the comments, as well as these 2 cards for my entry this week. One of them is my, my entry, and then one of them is my winner card. So we'll have a little foil stamp guy in the pool. So that's awesome. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. And until next time, take it easy. See ya.